Well, I'm not sure what happens in the story. I'm not sure if it's a revival. I'm not sure. The world has been shaken to its very foundation. Um, Cain has killed Abel. Grown men, so years have gone by. Probably there are other children already born and growing. And Cain kills Abel, and Adam and Eve are like at a loss because they thought he was the promised seed, and then God gave them Seth, and so they're now excited. But something happens in the day of Enoch. Men begin to call on the Lord. The Bible says in Genesis 4:26, and to Seth, to him also there was born a son, and he called his name Enos, or Enoch. Then began men to call upon the name of the Lord. What a wonderful testimony. I don't know what happened. Adam's hurt. Abel's dead. Cain has gone to the world and rejecting God. Seth has the son, and something changes. Men begin to pray and talk to God. A call back to God, a revival. When I hear that, I think maybe they had grown cold, kind of like happens in our churches sometimes. They had just gotten cold on the things of God. Not that they went away from God, but it just was like the fervor was gone. They had lost interest. Maybe, maybe they felt like Cain had just messed up everything so badly that there was almost no hope anymore. Uh, Maybe they quit worshiping like they were because they saw Abel's offering accepted and Cain's offering rejected, and Cain's offering meant God was mad at him, and then Cain killed Abel. I don't know what happened, but now men begin to call on God, and life will be preserved for several hundred years more. There's a renewed interest in God. Men began to call on God. Two great men, two great men will come from the family. One will walk with God and not die, Enoch. The other will be used to save humanity in an ark. This man, Seth, has a son named Enoch, and Enoch will not die. And Noah will also come out of that same godly line, and he'll save humanity. I would like just a moment for you to consider with me, what is the testimony of your life? We need a godly heritage. We need a godly heritage. I have 4 children, and then I have 22 grandchildren, and great grandchildren will come fairly soon, I would imagine. What will the testimony of my life be? I hope they say I love my wife, and I hope they say I love them. But more than that, I hope they say I love God. And I hope they say that everywhere I went, I want to talk about Jesus. And I want to turn people to Jesus. I hope I'm building a testimony. Would you say that you're calling on others to call on God? Would your children know that you seek God? Do you think your children know that? You realize that your children are more like you than you'd ever want to admit. You see, Adam lived 130 years and begat a son in his own likeness after his image. I don't know what that means. We know that death passed from Adam to all men, just like sin did. We know that Adam had learned to call on God, and it appears that Seth and his family did as well. We know that. But obviously, Dad and Mom, we pass on more to our children than we would ever imagine. We pass on more to our children than we would ever imagine. What are you passing on to your children? He was a good man. He was a tough man. He was a hard man. He was a disciplinarian. He was a humble man. How much will we pass on? Boy, my granddaddy, my daddy, my family member loved God. Uh, what will your children be like if they are like you? What will your children be like if they're like you? Will they read their Bibles? Will they go to church? Will they live holy lives? Will they honor their marriage? Will they pay their bills? What will your children do if they do like you? Not all your children will always do what you want. I'd like to remind you that even in the Bible story, Adam had 2 children. principal ones that get mentioned, and one had followed God and one was a murderer. We know that Adam had lots of sons and daughters. If anybody ever questions you, verse 4 says, "In the days of Adam after he had begotten Seth were 800 years, and he begat sons and daughters." So at least he already had Abel, who died or was murdered, and Cain and Seth, and then he begat sons and daughters. What's the most important thing that you have to pass on to your children? It has to be your faith. The majority of the people mentioned in this chapter were only born, had children, and died. They were born, they had children, and they died. But their influence on their children was enormous. Not much will be remembered about me and you, but what we invest in our children. Somehow we get this idea everybody knows us, and we're a day of social media, but people don't know us. And people don't really care that much about who we are. They don't even think about us that much. But we are leaving a massive imprint on one group of people. Can I sum up life for you? You're born, you have children, you get some junk, and you die. You're born, you have children, you get some junk, and you die. So what am I leaving as a heritage for my children? I want to make a difference in the lives of my children. I want my children to know that the forgiven forgive, that the loved love. I want my children to know that Jesus is more important than anything. I want my grandchildren to have a hunger for God and the things of God. I want to leave a godly heritage. I know you do too. Let's work at that.